Very good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Community Voices Uganda on Civic Space TV. I am Philip Molisa. You're most welcome to this beautiful conversation that focuses on a subject very sensitive, essential, critical to our livelihoods as a people, but most importantly to the future generation. And our topical conversation today is about the rise of Diabetes Mellitus. I have medics here, they will explain what those very complicated words mean, and they say it is on a rise among young people in this country, in the region, on the continent, and perhaps globally, but they'll give us more of what the image is like at different levels, and indeed educate us about what it is, how we get it, how we can manage it, how we can prevent it, and indeed how we can have a good life as the peoples of the world. I am Philip Lisa and I welcome you all. And before we get into the depth of the conversation, I will first invite each of them to briefly talk to us and we get into the conversation. I'll start with you, Dr. Erikana Ndubura. Doctor, good afternoon. You're welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, good afternoon, my moderator, and thank you for having me here. Dr. Erikana Ndubura is my name, and I practice medicine, a general practitioner, but I'm also a global health scholar. So I'm interested in anything global health and in One Health particularly. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ndubura Erikana. We're happy to have you and we're going to hear what you have to share with us in this line of diabetes. Dr. Janet, you're welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, moderator. My name is Janet Maraka. I am a medical doctor by training and currently I'm a resident of internal medicine at Uganda Matters University in Zambia. So I'm glad to be in part of the discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maraka, for joining us, and indeed we appreciate that you make time to join us amidst all your busy schedules, all of you, because being a medic matters concerning life, and we know every other day there is someone that is unhealthy, so we appreciate the fact that you take time to join us and share a bit of knowledge of how we can have a good living. Next is Miss Nachito Morin. Good afternoon, you're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you. I'm Maureen Nachito. I'm a pediatric endocrinology nurse and I specialize in diabetes. Currently, I'm practicing in Mulago as their diabetes nurse in children. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I love sharing about diabetes. It's a passion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nachito Morin, for joining us and indeed for being passionate about matters, helping people live well, especially in the line of diabetes. You say it's a passion and we appreciate that, and indeed we can't wait to hear what you have to share with us about this particular subject. And last but not least is Daniel Kamara. Daniel, good afternoon, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much. I am glad to be part of this discussion about diabetes. I am Kamara Daniel. I am a nutritionist. I work with Bwindi Community Hospital, Kanungu District. I represent nutrition, the Allied Nutrition Association of Uganda, and I'm also the MD for the Nutrition Habilitation Centers that are leading virtual spaces in awareness and advocacy about the emerging non-communicable diseases in the country.
Thank you so much, Daniel, a nutritionist. I know many times we hear unconfirmed stories telling us we get diabetes from our eating ways and so on. So since we have a nutritionist here and medical doctors, then certainly we leave this place knowing what to eat and what not to eat and what causes what and what shouldn't cause what. Thank you so much for joining us, colleagues. Now, I want us to get into the conversation immediately, and I want to start with you, Dr. Ndubura. Diabetes mellitus. In our local languages, many of them will say someone has sukaari, sugar, and you're like, but everyone takes the sugar. We all like that tea with sugar, at least from childhood and so on. I know many young people and most of us as young kids who go ahead and lick some sugar from the cupboard, and it was such a crime in some of our families and homes. But I want you to help us understand in simple language, what is diabetes mellitus and what does it look like? Yes, Dr. Elikana.
Thank you, Philip, for having me once again. And I like this question. When you say, what is it? So diabetes, diabetes mellitus, what we call sukaari, is a non-communicable disease. So in simplicity, non-communicable diseases are diseases that we cannot transmit to other people. So if I have my diabetes, I cannot give it to you. That's one thing that should be clear, so that whenever you have someone who has diabetes, then you know they have diabetes. Me working with them, sharing a bed with them does not make me have diabetes. Now, non-communicable diseases are usually behavioral diseases that are from the system, but are exacerbated by what we do. So when we say someone has diabetes mellitus, we mean that they have a disease that is concerned with two main events in the body, because now we are going to look at the type. So we have two forms of this diabetes. In type 1 or a form 1, we have a deficiency or a problem with the body producing something we call a hormone. In common Uganda, those ones in common Uganda, those are the things that control how the body works. In Tege Kamagara, the things that guide the body on how it works. Then in type 2, we have a fault in your body that your Tege Kamagara, that your hormones are there, but the system where they work is not really recognizing them. So when a person has diabetes, the body, you and I operate on something we call sugar or glucose in simple terms. Everything you do is supported by your body being able to use the sugar you have, which you usually get from food, then to be used in the different parts of the body for it to work. Now, this sugar, its use, its breakdown is supported by a hormone that is usually from a small part of the body called the pancreas. Now, this hormone has to be produced regularly, depending on your body's needs. The hormone is called insulin, because when we go to treat, when the doctors here discussing treatment, you'll hear about insulin. So in one system, or in type 1 diabetes, we have this insulin not being enough. So your body has less insulin, and so we need to support it with insulin. So that one we call it type 1, and is usually for young people, or we call it juvenile or childhood onset. It starts at a young age because the fault starts at an early stage, since this is part of the body that is failing to do some work to the required standards. Then in type 2, the body system is producing the insulin. That pancreas is producing insulin. However, that insulin has to be detected. And so it is not well detected. The system does not recognize it. It's like me giving you money, but you don't know how to use it. Let's say you are in Uganda, I give you $1, and you don't know how to use $1. So there's a fault here, that you have insulin, but your body is not taking it up. There are some reasons for the faults, as we shall get to understand later. Now, we also now have a variant, like something that is coming in between this type 1 and type 2, because this is what we previously knew, that we have diabetes of the young onset and diabetes of adult onset, or what we call type 2. But now we have a pediatric type 2. Because I understand recently we saw a news publication in Uganda that we are having increasing series of diabetes among the youth or the young people. So this is where we come from, pediatric type 2 or youth onset type 2. Those two variants, because previously type 2 was adult onset, but now we have it among the children and then among the younger people who are in their 14 20 is there. Now, in this one, the system is the same. Our body is not responding to the insulin, but this time it happens at a little older age. What needs to be known globally is that in this case, the type 2 in the youth, in adolescents, is actually twice type 1. So what am I trying to communicate? In the current times, having a late onset or adolescent type 2 diabetes occurs twice. If you meet 3 children, if you meet 3 children that have diabetes, those with type 2 of the adult onset will be 2, and the one with type 1 will be 1. So it is now common to have diabetes when you are a child or when you are an adolescent. Especially in our case, especially in the African setting. And then the other way around, having diabetes when you are an adult in an adult setting is actually now more common for the people who are now in the 40s. So to summarize, we need to know that diabetes means your body is having challenges with the insulin. It can be type 1, where you are not having this hormone, and then it can be type 2, where you have the hormone, but the body is not picking it up very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Likana, for that very elaborate introduction and description to this particular giant called diabetes and what it is and where it is to be found and the categorization of the same, and indeed telling us about the new variants that we have in that particular field. I want to come to you, Maureen. You know, with your passion in dealing with this particular problem, first of all, take me to Mulago Hospital and talk to me about the situation firsthand of this particular disease in your work environment. What is the status like, and indeed, how do the patients with this particular condition behave and react, and how do you deal with them?
Thank you so much. Just to get a clarification, when you say how they behave and react, do you mean how we can identify them? Okay. So thank you so much for this opportunity. When I talk about how the status is like in Mulago, Mulago is our national referral hospital, so we expect that most of the people around come there in case they have not accessed healthcare outside there or inadequate healthcare. So Mulago is one of the biggest type 1 diabetes mellitus clinic. So when we talk about type 1, it's what Dr. Elikana was saying, the childhood onset, the early onset of diabetes. And we have around, right now we are following up on around like 376, I think, patients at the moment. But then we have other clinics in all the regional referrals that still have these children, and Mulago is not the biggest. We have 2 more that are actually bigger than Mulago at this point. So when they say it is on the rise, it's true, because from the statistics, each year we have a little bit more people we are diagnosing than we were diagnosing before. And it could be because of the increased awareness by the healthcare providers. Now they have better knowledge on how to diagnose DM, but maybe the other people were not seeking medical attention, but also increase the communication to the community, because we have community awareness programs, and we tell them to, if you see this and you see that, bring the child to hospital. We involve VHTs. Probably that's why we have increased numbers of children now with diabetes. And yeah, so that is how we stand as a country. We have around 38 clinics. Yeah, approximately 38 now that are active including all regional referrals in the country. Like Arua Regional Referral has, like all of them, talk about Chivoga Hospital, talk about Mubende Hospital, they all do have. And they all have children with type 1 diabetes. So the population is quite much at this point. Then talking about how they react and how they are, first of all, to help someone out there, these children have particular signs and symptoms that you can see even at home, because usually when their mothers come to hospital, they come telling you this one thing that they have seen changing on their child. And the most common things that you can see is a child will be losing a lot of weight, yet they eat a lot. They have a lot of appetite, they want to eat, but they are losing a lot of weight. And so that is one of the major signs. And then the most important one is they take a lot of water all the time, in the night, during day. The child can wake up just to take water. They take gallons and jerrycans of water. And in that matter, they also urinate a lot. So someone urinates, like if it's a 3-year-old, you don't expect them to be urinating that much urine, but or maybe that frequently, but they're going to be urinating that frequently with that much urine that you as a parent, it's worrying. If it was a boy who has outgrown the period where they are going to be urinating on bed, they are going to start urinating on bed again, and you just keep wondering what's wrong. So the simple signs that you can see at home to know that my child may not be well. Maybe I should do a glucose test at a clinic. Eating a lot, not gaining weight, losing a lot of weight, overtaking water, and then urinating a lot. Then the other things we can identify in hospital, at least those ones you can see. And so when they come in, I think the biggest problem we are having every time a patient is new, they are coming in like the worst state possible, because probably they weren't able to see these things, or they saw these things and then they kept taking Panadol, amoxicillin, and Piclox, because these are over-the-counter drugs. People can access them. When a patient is not well, a child is not well, they go to a clinic, they give them those same things, and the disease progresses to the worst states. So that is the clinical picture that apparently we have for now. I don't know if that answers what you asked.
Yeah, very, very well. Thank you so much, Maureen, for that overview. And indeed, you give us worrying figures in the numbers of 300, and you tell us young people are the majority of that, and it is a worrying statistic. But thank you so much for that information, and indeed, it should be used to better our behavior around this particular subject. Dr. Maraka, I want to hear from you. First of all, the two people have been telling me about one in the young people and the other in the old people. Where is the difference between these two? But two, which group of people ideally should be at more risk of getting this diabetes, and indeed, what are the major causes of this particular complication among us people? Yes, Dr. Maraka.
Thank you very much, moderator. And I thank the previous colleagues that have given highlight on the topic. So your question is, what is the cut line between the two, and what are the possible causes of the problem that we have that is on the rise? So as stated earlier by Dr. Likana, that we have type 1, that is basically there is no insulin production, and what can follow that, you may find that the pancreas cells can get destroyed, what we call the autoimmune disease. The body are fighting against itself and destroying these cells. So in these people who have type 1, it's basically something that is, the cause may not be known. However, if a person has had a family member that has got type 1 diabetes previously, they are at a risk of getting the disease, or if they are always being affected by other diseases like the viruses, so they are just at a higher risk. So genetic predisposition in type 1 is the major cause. So other causes may not be identified, but as Sister Nachito has given us the highlight of how a patient may start experiencing, it will enable us to screen early and avoid the complications. But what is very important to know that these patients is basically an autoimmune. The body is destroying the cells that are producing insulin, and at the end of the day, these patients don't have insulin in their bodies, and they cannot regulate the glucose metabolism, or the breakdown when you eat. So you find there is high sugar in the body, and they are not able to cope up with the daily life. So in type 2, we have the insulin being produced, but the body is not utilizing it. And it's what we call the insulin resistance. Why it is on the rise currently, we have people poor eating habits among people, and the obesity, like gaining weight. So when you have such instances, and the people are not like doing exercise, and most especially you find like there's increased urbanization, and there is reduced, like basically recreational activities among the youth or the young children. You find like a person stays on TV for more than 24 hours. They are following their soaps. So these particular causes are the leading drive for type 2, because there is reduced utilization of insulin. Or when someone snacks a lot, the other cause would be like you find most of the TVs are advertising these sodas, advertising the snacks. So you find like people eat high sugary foods, but they do not utilize this food in maybe physical activity or recreational activity, and there's like they don't live a life that utilizes a lot this energy that they are taking. So that's basically the major pointing factors for type 2, like the sedentary lifestyle, inactivity, and the poor diet. Our nutritionist will guide us through on which food particular people should always be looking out or should prioritize eating, but that should be able to give you a clear view of the causes of type 2 or type 1 diabetes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maraka, for that submission. It is indeed very powerful and educating to learn those particular subjects and pointers around this particular problem. I want to come to you, Mr. Kamara. Look, the doctor ends well by telling us that you can do us justice in telling us what to eat and what not to eat. But take me this way. Create a link between this problem and the food we eat on a daily basis. I mean, Uganda is, they call it a food basket. We have foods all over, but also we know that over the counter in the supermarkets and shops, there is a lot to eat. There's bread, there's soda, there's juice, there is link these foods to the problem and indeed talking to the rise of this particular problem in our country. Yes, Mr. Kamara.
Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you so much to the previous speakers. Your input is highly valued. And every time we talk about the non-communicable diseases, my question is, the rise is too much and the prevention strategies seem not to be working. I'll not quickly go to the linkage of how these foods interconnect to the diabetes. I just want us to have a look. In 2016, our obesity rates in children were at 2.4%, whereas in 2022, we are 3.4%. And as the percentage keep growing, in adults, we've moved from 16 to 27%. Now, It is the same question. There is a WhatsApp group where I often chat every time. Now a person came and asked me, previously, before nutritionists were there, people were eating health and normal. I was like, yes, this is true. But now, when do you last eat your local indigenous culture plate? If I'm to ask, when did you last eat a boiled food? And we often say that if you do not eat from your home, you do not know what you've eaten. Well, now, this brings a big dilemma first for what we are going through as a country, as people, and also not underscoring the need for every person's input. Now, I want to first talk about the issue of the food advancement. Now, in Uganda, we have the shrewd communication by the food industries that entice, that bring on board you, that they even tell you what to eat and how to eat it. They will tell you a burger is best taken with a soda. And even when you go to such eating places, they will force you. They even add it there. Of recent, I went to an eating place and they added me a big soda. I was like, please, can you, no, this one is, it must go with that food. I was like, no, please, I am the one telling you, take it back. And they refused, they packed it. I was like, are you mad? Until they took it back. So the food advancement, if you move the Kororo Road, if you use the Kamocha highways, if you use the Entebbe Express till the airport, you see the food advancements that are silly, that promote the emerging of non-communicable diseases. So what has the government done? You can't imagine that we are just developing the food and nutrition bill, of which I pray it is not trashed like the alcohol bill. There have been consultative meetings since 2 years back. And of this year, 20 has just been years. And we are waiting for feedback. I've been attending the meetings too. I hope this can bring out. We are also structuring a bill around the trans fatty acids. The trans fatty acids are now the leading causes of obesity, if I might say. These burgers, pizzas, and also these fries, the most so-called fries. Can you imagine? Even the food is called fries. In primary, we learned that fries may be house fries. But now people are eating fries. Can you imagine?
Come on.
So I don't know how can people eat fries. The use of vegetable oils, the use of these vegetable oils, and you open them, you use it more than once, twice. The use of street foods. People buy this fried food, the fried cassava, the fried namongodi. All those street foods have trans fatty acids. Remember these oils? We have the oils that are fully hydrogenated and the partially hydrogenated. The ones that are partially hydrogenated, these are the oils that are real oils, the cooking oils. Then the fully hydrogenated ones, these are pesters, like the margarine that you spread on bread, on food, and others. The way you eat it, it is the way it goes directly into the blood vessels and it makes a plague, slowly by slowly. Similarly, the way we eat red meat, all those have unhealthy fats. So the media is doing a lot in promotion of fast food, and these foods are usually high in sugar, refined carbohydrates, and health fats, and calories, contributing to obesity, which is a major risk factor. If you visit some of the most school canteens here in Kampala, unfortunately, you'll not find there. Remember, in our primary schools, when this person asked me a question, I was like, this person is not reflecting upon his life. Because you can't ask me that previously there are no nutrition. It's like now saying we didn't have oncologists and cancer was not there. The more the disease grows, the more the expertise and the specialist also goes high so that we can detect where the problem is and we help you. You remember our school canteens before, they used to have this boiled cassava. Remember, they used to give you like 3 pieces at 500, not even fried. They used to have yellow bananas. They used to have what else? The sweet potatoes. I remember our school primary canteens. They had health foods. They had milk that is not packed. They would wake up in the morning, they sieve the milk, they boil it. Then you go there with 200 shillings. They give you a cup of milk. Right now, as we speak, in markets of Uganda, they have only fried cassava. No child actually knows that cassava is not fried. They all know fried cassava. They all have, even they fry sweet potatoes, I was shocked. They were telling me these sweet potatoes are fried. I had never seen them until I came to Kampala. Then you have the sugar drink marketing strategy. They are too aggressive. They even write, and the problem with us Ugandan, we do not know the nutrient profile and the nutrient profiling model and the food labeling code. You know, you buy a food, you don't want even to read. There is even a lot of food fraud. Imagine you buy a food product that has 20 grams of sugar, and you tell them that you are safe. And what hurts me by the moderator is that most of the obese persons, they're the ones who buy these products. If you sit in an eating place, check out for the people who are very big. They're the ones who order for the product, the ones who order for what, and ask yourself. There is a lot of sedentary life promotion in Uganda. There is a
Thank you,
media
Mr.
consumption.
Daniel. Yes, please conclude on that.
Yes, now as we intend to link, we want us to link the modern practices versus the previous practice or the cultural practice that we had. And we automatically see that the shift into the same urban environment and the coping strategies that Ugandans have, you want to be on the level that you'll not be able to manage in the future, have contributed to the increase in the diabetes type 2, which is the lifestyle modified condition. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara, for that rather detailed nutrition sect-related submission. And indeed, you tell us a lot about how we eat and how we behave and what we're exposed to in our eating habits. Very powerful. Thank you so much. Dr. Ndugura, I want to come back to you. You see, when you listen to Mr. Kamara here, he's talking about everything we have to eat. He talks about the soda, he talks about the fried cassava, he talks about if you don't eat from home, you don't know what you've eaten. Ideally, he's telling me and every other viewer that we should stop eating. What should Ugandans eat, in other words, to be safe from getting to the risk factors or indeed getting the disease itself? How should we behave, especially in the area of nutrition and indeed any other preventive mechanisms?
So, thank you very much. The issue of diabetes is a lifestyle issue, both here in Uganda, East Africa, Africa, and even other countries. On food, I'll give you a preamble. So, in Latin America, there never used to be diabetes. So, one time, they got these natural disasters. So, they got hurricanes, and they couldn't get food. So, there was importation of food, this humanitarian kind of aid. So they started bringing them corns. Corns are these things that have like more energy, more glucose. So because of this, the Americans' body reacted. And that's actually how diabetes came into Latin America, just because of the food that was brought as part of the humanitarian service, which these Americans were not used to. Now it directly goes to Mr. Kamara's submission that previously, we never used to eat burgers. So these burgers are things that have just started to Ugandans and the rest of East Africa. That's why we have this double tragedy, having too much of these diabetes-related conditions compared to how we used to have our other diseases that we knew that are transmissible. So what should we eat? Number one, in terms of food, what goes inside, what you eat. Number one, you need to eat a local food. So what's local food? Local food is the traditional staple food. If I go to Karamoja, Kenyans, the ugari, taken with the other leaf vegetables, but without cooking oil. Because the funny part is that even in Karamoja, people are starting to put oil, cooking oil. Moreover, this one that the people coin that is from transformers. Then we need to analyze the new current trend that we are trying to eat. For example, spaghetti. I didn't know spaghetti until late when I came to Kampala. So spaghetti is not natural food. It's plastic food. Now, you can spoil natural food by adding these low manufactured products. You have natural food which you should be taking, but you spoil it by adding, for example, we have, you see, we have, when we say oils, we have natural oils and man-made oils. So, for example, natural oils, you know, cheese, this one, butter, this one from cows, it can be used as an oil. But then we have this other cooking oil that is, yes, extracted from plant, but now other additives are put, and some of these additives are preservatives, and they have an effect on the body, just like what Dr. Maraka talked about, the genetics, they modify your body's system. So we need to avoid these ones. Where you go to restaurants where they sell natural food straight, yeah, you know, places like Baguma in Uganda, when you go there, you find everything natural. So at home, let's deviate far from these ones. But aside from eating, we have now what we also put in our mouth. We drink alcohol. So all forms of alcohol are very dangerous in their crude form. So when you are taking, you must be reminded that this is at risk. However, those who are takers, in science, we usually have what we call standard drinks. Standard drinks is actually like a third of a glass. So when we say standard drink, that means that's everything you should take, like in a day, have a third of a glass. So you can imagine how small that is, whatever type. But this chronic drinking, 2 bottles of beer or what, a full bottle, what, huge, whatever form, that's extremely very toxic and unhealthy, including the kazire, chituzi, or whatever alcoholic. And then recreation activities, drug use. You know, you will agree with me that when you go in most of the communities, you'll find the people are consuming this shisha, you know, this vaping. In all its forms, it is very dangerous and toxic to your life. You do not need to tamper with it, and you should avoid it, because the chemicals you inhale affect how your body works. They modify the genetic system, because much of the adult onset is because now the body is changing. It is not responding to how it used to be. And then also, let's practice natural activity. Let's be active. Do not sit in office for 6 hours. Even in the road, we say that now, when you're traveling from Mbarara to Kampala, when you reach Masaka, first exit the bus, first do some walk around, come back to the vehicle, you know, because it's our inactivity that the body starts changing, starts misbehaving, because we accumulate the other fats we are taking in a burger and those other sorts. So they accumulate, they broke your system, they modify the system, and then at the end of the day, your body reacts. So this is how we should feed, how we should take in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nduhura, for that remedy in terms of how we should behave as individuals, and we appreciate that particular advice. So we appreciate you. Now, I want to come to you, Maureen. Look, you spoke to us about how you identify these challenges, especially among the young people, but I want you to advise parents, guardians, and every other person at home. When you have a victim of diabetes, how should you manage this condition? Of course, there is the medical bit, but even at home, we shall not be in the hospital throughout. How can people treat or behave around people that have this condition to see that it is not exacerbated, and indeed maybe we can go into the healing process or maintaining life for a longer time? Yes, Maureen.
Okay, thank you so much, Philip. You talked about diabetes management at home. So personally, I'm going to speak more about type 1 because that's where I am centered. And also we have a lot of people who can talk about type 2. And so at home, with the children, the things that the parents have to know. If the child is already a confirmed or known type 1 diabetes, you came, now we told you the child is sick, what do you do when you go home? Everyone has been talking about diet. I'll still talk about the diet of these children. we do not restrict diet for the children. Of course, we will talk about how we don't want the fatty oils and all that for the same reason. But for children, they are still growing. They require to grow and be the people they are supposed to be. The demand is a little bit high. So we do not restrict diet for children. If a parent is out there and they want to manage their child well, the first thing they can start with is to let this child eat normally the way the other people eat. Because the management we do is we give these children insulin. The way Dr. Ndura said, it can only be managed with insulin. So what we medical people do is we try to match your insulin with food so that you can have adequate growth. As a 5-year-old who would want to be a doctor one day, you're going to require to eat for your brain to grow, for your body to grow physically and to get the required nutrients. So parents out there should never restrict diet for these children. And if you have a query as a parent, you can always talk to your medical or the healthcare provider that you have. Then too, the constant or frequent glucose monitoring is important to us. Keep checking, because anything, with children, they are playing, it changes. They have a flu, the blood glucose changes all the time. So frequent glucose checking, taking a lot of water is very important for the children. And at home, the other biggest issue we've had now, we've noticed, is psychosocial issues. If a child is having type 1 diabetes, you should let the family members know that it's not contagious. No one else is not going to get it because they are using the same cup, because they are using the same plate. They should include these kids. They should not tell them to sit down and not play and let the others play. It is affecting them psychosocially. And at school, because for us, school is important. This is where these children spend their most time. They should let the school know that this child is having type 1 diabetes. They could have emergencies like hypoglycemia or low blood glucose, and this is how you can handle it. This gives the child a feeling of inclusion, like not stigmatized, not discriminated against, and it gives them a chance to thrive and grow normally the way other kids would have been. But besides that, they are normal children. They are going to have a normal, exact life if you handle those few things around. Maybe the other thing is on sick days, if a child is not well, don't take to anyone out there. We are all medical practitioners, but we are all not well versed in managing children with diabetes. Seek out adequate or go to a big hospital. Don't go to a clinic. People may not know. We had issues where someone had low blood glucose, and then when they went to hospital, they just added normal saline on the child, and the child died of a low, and it's very sad. So I would advise parents to seek healthcare that these people know what they are doing. Don't go to anyone out there. And lastly, all the myths that are surrounding diabetes in children, we talk to your healthcare provider. Like, if you start insulin, you don't stop. These children's entire life is going to depend on insulin. And if you don't start it early, you're going to predispose them to having complications later on in life. Nutritionists are really important. If you can access advice of a nutritionist to do carbohydrate counting, because we do it quite a lot, that's good. But you should do what you can. The parents should do what they can. Most importantly, address the psychosocial issues. Stigma kills most of our children. It's not good. So they should deal with that at home. Yeah, generally, that's it, really.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for that advice. And I know the parents here and indeed every other person is listening so keenly about that particular advice. And that takes me to Dr. Maraka. Doc, one of the things Maureen tells us is seeking adequate or standard medical attention. And she says avoid the clinics. They may do things that are not to the standard, that are not right, and so on. First of all, speak to the capacity of the health system in our country. Do we have the capacity to manage this problem, given the kind of rate it is rising at when you look at all reports, when you listen to the figures Maureen was giving last year and indeed the Ricana, it is quite exponential. Do we have the capacity to manage it? And in any case, what more needs to be done to make sure we can provide the healthcare needed for our peoples in the country so that they do not succumb to such a disease? Yes, Dr. Maraka.
Thank you very much, moderator. And to answer your question, that do we have enough to handle this situation in our health system in Uganda? I think the answer should be no, we don't have enough, but we are trying to be there. For instance, if you example Maureen gave is a patient goes to a nearby clinic because that's the available place they can rush to get help, and you find they are only given the health, they are given normal saline in the air management, and the patient ends up dying. It automatically drives us or shows us like there's not enough that has been done to increase maybe awareness, first of all, on how to manage, especially even among the healthcare practitioners. So I can say that most of the facilities that are available may not be able to handle this situation. So the most important thing that should be done in our healthcare is to first of all increase awareness among the population and enable them seek out for medical advice from a trained personnel, and they also try to reduce the stigma and the myth about diabetes. So this I can say that the health system needs to be improved through training the health workers. Maybe we can also train the VHTs that will be able to help, or at least be able to give them information that they can use to help a person who has diabetes. For instance, how to detect a low sugar and what to give when you have the low sugar. Because if, for example, this mother was told how to give in glucose when they recognize that there is low sugar, then that child would have not died. You understand me? So in this case, I am emphasizing on the public awareness. First of all, about that disease, how to diagnose, how to manage, and how to try to screen out from other people who don't have it. So and the other thing for the that's type 1, because really type 1, you may not know the cause. You may not know the cause because these people, they are genetically predisposed. It might be just an autoimmune disease because someone suffered a specific viral disease and they got the disease. So now in the management, you have to just teach them on how to manage the patient. What are the symptoms of high sugar? What are the symptoms of low sugar? And when you have low sugar, because low sugar kills more than the high sugar, what should you do as a mother? That you give sugar to your child, give something sugary when you have maybe overdosing. So also, I think what needs to be done as young people and also the health workers, we need to maybe develop the mobile apps to enable and telemedicine, to enable these people to be able to consult, appropriately. Like the diabetes groups can develop these mobile apps and enable these people who are suffering from that disease for proper follow-up and consultation without necessarily being to the hospital. Because if the person who is suffering from that disease is able to contact their doctor anytime or contact the point where they are receiving health care at any time, then we shall be able to reduce maybe death that is arising from diabetes. And also, there should be a follow-up program that is screening out for complications, because most of the complications that arise from diabetes, we have the cardiovascular, the heart diseases like heart and the blood vessels. Do you find these people get amputated because of the diabetic food? they get a heart attack from diabetes, and also they get a chronic kidney disease that may require dialysis. So programs that enable you screen out for these complications will also reduce on the stigma and also economic burden as a country, because this needs to be really done. The other thing I think should be done is increasing availability of treatment to these people. Remember, it's a chronic problem, a chronic disease. So meaning they are going to take medicine throughout. So the government can look into providing insulin at a subsidized cost, or even free if it's available. Like for the case of HIV, you find like ARVs are free of charge. And you find there are VHTs or community-based programs where you find like one VHT collects medicine for his clients. So I think the same thing can be done for what? For diabetes. That we have VHTs that have been trained into, because these people are really near to their communities. They know which village, in my village, a number of these people have what? They have diabetes. They can be able to collect and maybe remind them on their routine program to go and screen out for what? For those other complications, and also receive the diabetic education. I think those should be things that can be looked into to reduce the burden. Yes, I don't know if I have answered your question, or there is more that is required from me.
Thank you so much, Janet. But maybe before I let you go, I don't know that, yes, I still have you. You mentioned myths in your submission, and over time we listen to stories that people that have diabetes, people will tell you cannot survive beyond, some will tell you, if you are diagnosed with diabetes, then 2 years, then trust me, in 3 years, your liver is going to be dead. In 5 years, your fingers will be cut off. Speak to that briefly. Is it such so that the moment someone is diagnosed with this particular disease, then certainly they are bound to lose particular body parts and indeed head to the Creator?
Okay. About that is really not right. That is not correct. Once you're diagnosed with diabetes, it is not that you are going to die in 2 years, or it's what makes people think so is because there is really limited knowledge about the diabetes and the management and access to healthy care that will predispose this person to develop all these complications. But in a real sense, if someone is diagnosed with diabetes and they follow up on the proper treatment, they can live for more than, even a healthier life, more than a person who is not diabetic. So that one is not right. So what we only need to understand that once you been diagnosed with diabetes, it's just like you don't have insulin to regulate your glucose levels. But if you undergo treatment and follow proper management plan, then you will be able to survive as long as you don't develop complications like the heart attack, the chronic kidney disease that may take your life. So what I can say, for we have been emphasizing on type 1 where you're receiving insulin, but what I should also emphasize is in type 2 diabetes. If someone is diagnosed with type 2 and they are able to modify their lifestyles, meaning this person is able to start the physical activity, they are going to modify their diet, and also if they are alcohol takers, they have reduced their alcohol intake, and if they are overweight, they have maintained the healthier weight possible. This person can even go off medications, because once the sugar is controlled, they can get off medication. That is in type 2, and they get into regular screening and follow up. this person can get off medication and they can live as much as they can, because in type 2, the body is able to produce insulin, but it's not utilizing it. So if you are able to increase the utilization of what the body is producing, then you will be able to live longer and live a normal life, a routine life.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Maraka, for that. And it's rather encouraging to learn that people can be managed and they continue to live well on earth if they respond positively to what they're being told to do by the medical personnel. Kamara, look, you talked about the street foods and it's all Kampala has. You talked about the fries and many other things. Please, if you have a child at home today, if you have children at school, what kind of advice, what kind of information are you giving them in terms of what to eat, in what quantities, when and how? Yes, Kamara, because I mean, you have students spending more than 3/4 of the year at school, but these schools, do they have the information? What information do they need and how do they put it in practice? Yes, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you so much, the speakers, for the good input. Now, this various theme about diabetes here for Uganda, we are focusing on the individuals, families, and the communities that have these diabetes persons. Now, for these very individuals, we have a school feeding program, especially the young persons, the adolescents, and the young people in general, have the school feeding program that incorporates what children should eat and what they shouldn't eat. But I think the implementation of the school feeding program, it is still raw. It's still very low. And just like there was a paper that was published of recent that showed that poor people live longer and rich people are dying at a young age, it should be a trigger to minds and ask ourselves, why do we have the highest obesity rates that are increasing? If you get a person from the village to Kampala, the person can change actually in 2 weeks. Sometimes you can say, what happened? So the shift from the rural communities into the same urban, it's a big excitement for Ugandans to eat unhealthy, live unhealthy, copy everything. That's why bleaching is the order of the day, because every person wants to be what they are not previously. School feeding program needs to be implemented as soon as possible, and we need a policy to ensure that whatever is stocked is known. I earlier talked about the nutrient profiling model. It's being worked on, and it's going to be displayed where we shall be having red labels for products that have sugars beyond a certain threshold, those ones that have salt beyond a certain threshold. And of course, this is going to be in red, just like a cigarette is there, not for below 18 years, people, but people still buy it. That's what we are trying to do. Shall I put those labels there so that people can know this product? I'm not supposed to consume it, but because I don't listen and I have eyes but don't see, I'm going to buy it. And since we're also working on the food and nutrition bill, we believe that this is going to help us a lot, especially in humanitarian setting, and those persons should not access quality and nutritious food. And also, given the fact that we are trying to work on the trans fatty acid policies, they are going to regulate the advancement policy, the importation of products, and all the companies that are involved. We are going to give them the codes of conduct and how they should, so that this can. We forgot to talk about the breast milk substitutes. The breast milk substitutes that are imported to Uganda were found actually to have more sugar, and they're the ones that are contributing childhood obesity actually. And if you enter the good supermarkets in Kampala, you find that the ones that are first displayed, because the marketing code of conduct for breast milk substitutes, they do not. But we have other health workers that have gone ahead to advise our mothers who have delivered. At the child of 2 months, they will say, no. If the child is failing to breastfeed, or maybe you have a tight schedule, please go and find such and such formula and start feeding. That's very dangerous. And if you're such person, we advocate for exclusive breastfeeding till 6 months. Children are exposed to taking the infant formulas that are most children who are getting these diabetes. They are the ones getting these non-communicable diseases. Remember, these children they introduce these feeds at 2 months, 3 months, and the mothers, actually, some of them stop breastfeeding due to work-related issues and simple areas. But as nutritionists, we've introduced the expressive breast milk. You express, then you put it. We have those containers that have the meals that you've left home, and we have the threshold for it to expire. The one in the refrigerator, in a deep freezer, it will last for 90 days. The one in the refrigerator, 24 hours, like that, depending on how I've stored it, so that the child can take it. Even when you're away, even if you go for the party for 2 days, you can leave the breast milk at home for this very baby. But of course, we cannot underestimate the power of the Ministry of Health. That's what's doing to ensure that diabetes is managed. We want to alert every person doing the awareness and advocacy, and we want to call upon them to increase their efforts, because children are the future generation. And I was challenging someone just this morning, people ask you whatever they feel. Person was in my inbox, but Japanese live longer, and there are the people who eat badly, the one of the street food. I was like, please, the healthcare systems differ. Even the money differ. The money you have in your pocket, moderator, and the money I have in the pocket are different. And our health-seeking behaviors are different. But as the country tends to grow, that's why the President Museveni actually often talks about cassava, milk, eggs. And he discourages rice, actually. He discourages rice and wheat in his recent speech, because those are the biggest. The rice we have on the market is now actually, it's no longer whole grain rice. It's just rice. You eat it, you grow big. You gain weight, because those are high glycemic index foods that actually we have on the market now. Refined rice, we have refined portion, so taking it, you have to ensure portion control, leaving out even the children have diabetes, but also we have the specific diabetes plate for the children, for the adults, and for the people who are living with diabetes, and so much more. I have a lot to say about diabetes, but of course, I want to thank you so much for having an engagement with me. It's very
Thank you so much, Daniel, for that submission. And colleagues, now maybe I want you to, because when I listen to all of you, one of the words that is common amongst all of you is lifestyle. That this is a question of lifestyle, how you eat, how you choose to eat, how you choose to sleep, how you choose to either be physical, choose to just sit down all day, how you choose to behave around every other thing, drinking and everything. So I want to ask you, dear medics that I have on this panel, and indeed everyone to advise in your own words, just advise the population, because in the end, we do not want to end up with a country that is all diabetic. It shall overwhelm us, and we saw what COVID did to us and indeed the entire world. And if we wake up one day and 50% of Ugandans are diabetic, then we don't know what that can mean for our population, and indeed what numbers will be there to maintain the economy and indeed the continuity of life. So please advise the country on lifestyle in your own words, just briefly, as a medical practitioner or in any other form you want to. I'll start with Dr. Ndugura. Please.
Thank you. So for me, my advice in terms of lifestyle is twofold. Number one, personal responsibility. And number two, national responsibility. On a personal responsibility, now that we know what diabetes is and how it can be prevented via our modification of our lifestyle, take an initiative to know what food you need to eat. If you have never heard about it, maybe ask your mobile phone, visit the doctor, sit and ask them what you should take, and take it, please. Take a personal responsibility to be serious about your life. Even if a burger is cheaper, take an initiative to invest in yourself for a local meal, or prepare it at home. Or if you are far, if you really have no time to prepare a meal, go sit in a restaurant, a fine restaurant which prepares local food, and have it. It goes ahead to avoid these things like soda. It's not something you should go and in a restaurant and buy because that's what you can get. And also don't make it routine. You can have a soda, but don't have it routinely. Let it not be your menu on a daily. Then on a national initiative, we all want to see people healthy. If you are a health worker, take an initiative to educate people because we have seen that number of people with diabetes could have increased because doctors and nurses have provided this information, and the nutritionists, people know and now go for testing. So we are able to know them. And so that means we can even treat them earlier. But also the same information of teaching people can help them to avoid the risk factors and they be healthy. Now, in terms of the policies, you shouldn't be someone in charge and allow alcohol to dominate the market. Allow people with burgers to dominate the market. Put restrictions. If we say alcohol is for poor at 18, put some enforcement to ensure that it is only for poor at 18, not to be packed in cookies, not to be packed to people going to school. So that's how we can be serious. And also, let's increase the money for those who do policies in budgeting. Let's increase the money to make sure these services are available so that we can save our country and the entire world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nduhura. I can assure you the capitalists of the world are not happy with you, especially when you talk about those restrictions on who should eat what and when. But life is more important. I want to come to you, Dr. Maraka. Please give your advice, but also before you advise, how often should someone go for checkups about this particular disease? Yes, doctor.
Thank you very much. When we say that it's routine, make sure like when you visit the hospital, ask your doctor to check your blood sugar. And when they find that it's high, it is advisable that you screen out if for example, as in our practice, once your sugar is about 9 or 10 millimoles per liter, we go ahead to check if your HbA1c, that shows that your sugar control has been maybe high for more than 3 months. So it is very important also to know that it's a routine practice. So when you visit the hospital, it is also, as Dr. Rikana said, that it is your personal responsibility to make sure that sugar is being checked. But routinely, as in our unit, everyone that comes to the hospital, sugar is checked. And they tell you either it's normal or it's abnormal, we need to do further investigation. But every 6 months is okay. It's okay for patients that are at a high risk. It's okay to always monitor your sugars every 6 months. But monthly, if a person is at a risk, monthly we check the sugar. But in those patients that are already diagnosed, you find like we will encourage home monitoring of blood sugar, maybe 3 days a week. So the situation really depends on who has the problem or who is at risk. But the schedule varies from person to person, depending on your risky factors.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maraka, for that advice. Maureen, the parents are listening to your phone. Yes, doctor, you have something to add?
On the other issue, because I think I had answered part of the question that how often should one go for this screening?
Yes.
So the other, my last advice is we need to exercise as individuals, and also that's on a personal level. You need to utilize, when you take a high glucose load or you have taken a meal that has a lot of food, make sure you utilize it. Don't you eat and don't utilize the sugar, because it will build up and give you problems. And on national programs, I think it should be guided that we go as far as schools to encourage this physical activity among the children. I'm happy with the curriculum that physical education is a part of it. and that will enable us to make sure that children are actually doing exercise and they develop talents that they will take on and make it a habit. On national policies, I think there should be a tax on sugar products. That will, because you find like sodas as cheap as 1,000, so a person will be able to afford and they get. So, but if it's costly, I'm sure people will resort to normal food, and they'll be able to live healthy lives. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I want to inform you that every other financial year, government increases tax on alcoholic drinks, but certainly what has affected their consumption is time, not actually the price. But hopefully, when we increase the price of these high sugar-containing materials, certainly the consumption will reduce and we'll have a healthier citizenry. Yes, Maureen, your advice to the parents and the people at home.
Thank you, Philip. Before I go, a simple clarification: the child didn't die, but the child was just mismanaged, and he's okay now. So my advice is, I want so much to for people who have to prevent type 2 diabetes. It is all about lifestyle, and to back on what Dr. Maraka has said. It is primordial prevention. It starts with children. You don't tell someone to start exercising when they are 38, like let's take it down back to children. Teach them what good nutrition looks like, what exercise can do, like those things to help them learn the lifestyle as they are growing up so that they can just pick up when they are old. For type 2, really, because it stems way back from home. Child sits on TV the whole day, they don't do anything. When they grow up, they're going to do the exact same thing because they're used to it. But let's do primordial prevention, teach children what kind of lifestyle we think they should live when they grow up so that we train their brains. And then for type 1, it's not really preventable, but early diagnosis is very good. It prevents a lot of complications. So as a parent, when you notice something different on your child, come to hospital as fast as you can so that we prevent the complications that would be coming with late diagnosis. For type 1, we can't really prevent, but we can prevent the complications that come with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maureen Machito, for that advice. And Daniel, lastly, you don't want us to drink soda, you don't want us to eat cake, bread, fried cassava, fried chicken. What should we eat? Please, advise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again. This has been an exciting talk. I want to thank the previous Dr. Maraka. Yes, she said the taxation should be increased on soda, so that at least can move up from 1,000, at least like 3,000, so that you can increase the tax for country and to get salaries for people and government. Well, that's beautiful. I think that's what we are working on. But those industries, they are the biggest fishes that we have in Uganda. If I can say fishes, for the purpose maybe of understanding this context. It is very hard indeed, but a policy.
I can assure you, whoever has talked about increasing the prices of soda and sugar and so on, many Ugandans will not be happy with it. But
exactly. Even it is hard to penetrate into the market spaces, because if you increase a soda to 3,000, that means the also marketing strategy will go down and they may lose business. All in all, we still need them as Uganda because we are poor. And so much more, there's still political, social, dynamical, and whatever, around Uganda. Well, the prevention. As a nutritionist, let food be your medicine, and that your medicine be your food. For us, we do not want people to take pills every day. We have pharmacies as a nutritionist. Kalere is a pharmacy. Nakawa Food Market is a pharmacy. We have Nakasero. All those are good pharmacies for you. But the moment you want to go to the pharmacies on the street, those are the baddest pharmacies. The pharmacies on the street include these ones that with drugs. They include these ones with foods that are fried. Or those are your bad pharmacies. Remember, you are what you eat. Just the way you look well, moderator, because you eat well. You look the way you eat. It is typical. And of recent, when we're in a meeting, I said, actually, most of the health workers here are obese. Can we bring the weighing scale and the height, but I do the BMI one by one? And the lady confronted was like, this is abuse. You are abusing us. Why would you say that we are obese? I didn't say that. Because you are attached, because you don't want to control your mouth. Instead, I thought that when you are told your problem, you behave, right? When when they call you, they say, but please, behave, call. You've misbehaved. I thought you can take the advice well, but in Uganda, people don't want to hear the truth. That's very unfortunate. That the moment we start talking about obesity, people think that we are offending them, which is very wrong. But we are trying just to promote health eating in a very good and kind way so that they can embrace. Portion control is very important for persons living with diabetes. Portion control can be equal to your feast. We do not restrict any foods in nutrition, except all processed and refined. They are the ones we restrict. But all other foods, people living with diabetes may be told, you're supposed to leave karo, not eat matoke, not eat this. No, that's wrong. All foods are healthy and we just control them. We say portion control equal to your feast. We just talk about meal timing. All good meals should stop by 8 p.m. You should have concluded all your eating. Even if you're diabetic or not, imagine eating at 10, then you sleep. You need 4 pillows, the one to be at the back, another one to be on your head. You feel you want to vomit, the oil and comfort. All the sugar is stored in the form of fats in the long run. Then the belly starts coming, you start scaring us that you have money or you've made it. And also, there is what we call a balanced diet. Balanced diet shifted actually to a health eating plate. Every person should know that a health eating plate should have half of it fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it carbohydrates and proteins. Those should be quarters. There's the other side and this side. Then the other inside per meal, knowing that these fruits may be a high level index in sugars, they should be controlled, that these carbohydrates should be this, those ones are individualized. But for a general population health education, should be a health eating plate. Half of it fruits and vegetables, a quarter carbohydrates, a quarter proteins. And we encourage plant proteins mostly for climate change. Friends, we eat for climate change. We do not encourage animal proteins because they're the highest contributors to emerging and communicable diseases. We see these barbecues, they're the ones that are contributing to cancer and so much more. We need to take care of our good lives because the cancers have increased, not only through diagnosis, but also the numbers and so much more. And you all know that Western Uganda is increasing. It has registered high gastrointestinal-related cancers. Therefore, we should take care of our mouth. The mouth is the powerhouse. The mouth is for eating. The mouth is not for any other purpose. It's only and strictly for eating. I want to once again thank you for adding a voice on diabetes and other non-communicable diseases.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Healthy eating should stop at 8 p.m. I want to inform you that there are people that wake up at 1, 2 to have something to eat. And I think they pick this very good advice from you, and hopefully they are able to implement it. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara Daniel, for your knowledge and indeed for making time to share these points of advice and caution to the peoples of this beautiful country, so that we, and indeed the world, so that we can live healthy and have a sustainable living. Miss Maureen Nachito, thank you so much for your time and indeed for the knowledge you share with us on this particular subject. Dr. Janet Maraka, thank you so much for your knowledge and for the advice and indeed for making time to join the conversation. And indeed, Dr. Nduhu Redikana, thank you so much for your views and indeed making time to join the conversation and advise the country on how they can live healthy, especially in the line of diabetes mellitus. We appreciate you so much, and we hope the knowledge you've shared will impact families, will impact policy, will impact organizations, and indeed many other institutions to see that we create a better society with people that are free of this particular complication. Thank you so much to the Center for Constitutional Governance for putting this together, and thank you so much to the technical team for putting the effort to make sure we deliver this work, and I want to say Merry Christmas to you all, and if I don't see you really soon, very, very happy New Year.